Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to another episode of The Best Home Buying Advice. Bienvenidos todos amigos y amigas en el Valle del Río Grande. Bienvenidos a otro episodio, otra pregunta-respuesta en el día de hoy. Thank God it's Monday, TGIM, so we're back to another week of living with this new world with COVID-19. So hopefully everybody's well. Everybody had a good weekend. Everybody had it's pretty much ready to get the week kicked off, another week kicked off. So today felt like another mundane week, getting up, getting harder every by the week, trying to get up every day, same routine. But we're luckily we're close to getting through this, and hopefully we'll be back to normal pretty soon. That being said, over the weekend I had a question come in, and that was we're looking at houses and we're getting ready to go back to start looking at houses, getting back to regular life, to regular showings. And the question came up, so how much am I going to need to actually purchase a house? How much am I going to need for down payment? How much am I going to need for closing costs? And that's going to depend. And I'm glad that question came up this weekend just because so many things are changing right now. Lender policies are changing. Lending guidelines are getting a lot more strict. Read an article over the weekend that some down payments for conventional loans are going to start requiring up to 20% down payment, which is it's a big change, and it's something that's going to affect a lot of home buyers. It's going to take a lot of buyers out of the buying pool, so it's going to change a lot of things. We're now getting to that point where, yes, hopefully we're going to be getting back to normal, but at the same time, we're starting to see the trickle effects of what the new market, what the new life is going to be like moving forward. And that's one of the big things. I think even nationwide, the credit requirements are going up to about 700 points on the FICO score. So I know I talked about it last week as far as how much is the down payment going to be, or what will I need, what type of credit scores. And even though what I had mentioned last week may already be old news this week, and that's actually probably by the end of the day it was already old news, just because things are changing on a daily basis. They're changing by the hour. I spoke to a lender last week that mentioned that sometimes things are changing 2 or 3 times a day, so things are getting a little bit tougher. So needless to say, we are going to get through this, but we need to start getting ready for what we're going to do moving forward. If the end goal is going to be to buy a house moving forward, then we got to get ready for, okay, so we're going to need a 700 credit score. What do I need to get there? So working on that credit score is going to be a good thing. It's a good thing right now while I know it's a little bit tough just because of the bills are still coming in, and it's harder to go out and work, even though the local governments are now reopening the economy back up. We're still not at that point where we're at 100% full steam. So there's some things that we want to take care of as far as minimizing our expenses, stuff like that, and try to work on that credit score as much as possible. So if at the end of the day we are going to need a 700 credit score, then we have to get ready for that and prepare for it. And if the down payment requirement is going to be up to 20%, then we want to start working on that right now as well. Start saving up that money for that down payment. And let me see, I'm getting a text message right now. Hopefully we have a question regarding the topic today. So how much, going back to what we're actually, the topic at hand, and it's, how much am I really going to need to get to the closing table? And I wanted to touch base on the changes that are going on, just because some of it has to do with the answer to this question: how much am I really going to need? So before pre-COVID-19, I could have easily told you that, okay, you're going to need, if this is going to be your first home and you can qualify for an FHA program, a first-time homebuyer program, then you're only going to need 3.5% down. Worst case scenario, you'll need 3.5% down, and you'll need enough for your closing costs, and that's how much closing costs and some reserves, which is what the lender is going to ask you for, to have in your bank statement to get to the closing table. Again, I mentioned that that's a worst case scenario, just because when you have a buyer's representative such as myself, we're going to do whatever we can to help negotiate a lower price, help negotiate closing costs. On FHA programs, the seller is allowed to help you with up to 6%. There is a fine print on this, what that 6% is allowed to cover of the closing costs. So it's not generally closing costs. And there's very specific wording in the lending guidelines as to what that can be applied for. But something that you would want to speak to your lender. But as a blanket statement, they could help you to with 6% of the purchase price. So that's what I could have told you pre-COVID-19. Now I can, things are changing on a daily basis. That you, worst case scenario, you want to get ready with the down payment, whatever the case may be. If it's an FHA program, hopefully that's still 3.5%. Likely on conventional loans is going to go up to 20% down payment from what I hear. It's not completely written in stone, but I would say get ready for that. And closing costs. So another closing cost is going to be more or less another 3% of your closing costs. Not only that, now we're starting to see, even with good credit scores over 640, what I hear is that they're also asking for points. So points is pretty much 1 point equals 1% of the purchase price. And the lenders are requiring that to be able to bring down interest rates. So they're asking for that to be able to qualify for the loan. It's one of those requirements to be able to qualify for the loan. So they're asking for the down payment, they're asking for closing costs and percentage points. So on a good credit score, 640 and above, I'm hearing 3 to 4 points on the loan to be able to get to closing. So on a $100,000 purchase, get ready. If it's an FHA loan and they're only asking 3.5% down, get ready for $3,500 plus another $3,000 more or less for closing costs, plus another 3 to 4% in points. So we're already talking about easily $10,000 to $11,000, maybe even more. That's something that you do want to speak to your lender about. Okay, so Robert Perez with Gold Financial Services. So thank you for that, Mr. Perez. So FHA has this I quote on this: FHA has not changed their guidelines. Mortgage companies have. So my mistake for wording that incorrectly. It's not actually FHA guidelines. It's actually the mortgage companies that have changed their guidelines. So depending on the lender that you go with, that's why we recommend interviewing at least 2 or 3 lenders and see who you feel more comfortable with. So Mr. Perez, thank you so much. Hi, by the way, I hope you're staying safe. I haven't been, and we haven't touched base in a while, so I hope you are safe. I hope you're faring through these uncertain times fairly well. As far as Mr. Perez, I'm going to quote again, we can still do 580 FICO score. So again, speak to your lender to see what the guidelines are. So my mistake for wording that incorrectly. Again, FHA hasn't changed the guidelines. It's more of the lenders, what their lending requirements are in-house. So again, going back to the topic at hand. So that's pretty much what's going to be required. Is going to be the down payment, closing costs, and if they're asking for any points. And that's just to get to the closing table. That's what you want to get ready for in your bank statements. So another hidden, I wouldn't say hidden cost, but things that you want to get ready before the closing cost, or before the actual closing, is going to be stuff like your inspections. If you do choose to have an inspection done on the home, which is something that we highly recommend, always get an inspection on your home. You definitely want to, let me see, I'm just making sure that this is getting recorded. Okay. So you definitely want to get an inspection done to see what the soundness of the property is. What is it that you're getting into on the actual home? So generally that does depend on the size of the house. You might want to get ready with anywhere from $200 to $400 for inspections. And again, it does depend on the inspector, and it does depend on the size of home. So it's, again, you want to interview a few different inspectors before you actually decide on the one that's going to be performing your inspection. So that's one of the fees that you want to get ready for. And that generally happens within the first 10 days or so that you go under contract. So what's going to happen is, once you and the seller come to an agreement on the price and on the terms, then you are able to schedule your home inspections. And that generally happens within the first 10 days. And that's why we say that the first 10 days are usually the ones that happen the fastest. They go by super fast, just because, let's say if you would have gone under contract, if you had an accepted contract on Friday, and you weren't able to schedule an inspection until Monday. For example, I've got an inspection that's being done as of right now as we speak. So we automatically burn 2 days already. And if the inspector is going to take, maybe they can get the inspection report done that same day or the day or two after. So you're already burning 4 to 5 days. You only have 4 or 5 days to go back and renegotiate or do whatever you have to do based on the findings on that report. So that's something that's not included generally under all those closing costs and all that good stuff. So that's something that you want to get ready for before the actual closing. You want to get ready for, depending if it gets negotiated or not. And again, speak to your real estate professional about these details, just because some of the things that get negotiated into the contract are things like title policies and the surveys. So I don't want to go in full detail into those two things, just because it is something, is one of those things that's negotiable inside the contract, and it's something that we can spend a whole day just talking about this. So I'm not going to go into details. This video is just intended to pretty much answer in general what type of fees or what you need to get ready for to get to the closing table. So that's going to be the first 10 days. You get ready with the home inspection. The other thing that you want to get ready for is, if you do choose to get that home inspection, there is a clause in the Texas promulgated contracts that where you can negotiate this option period that allows you this time period. Like in this case, I mentioned 10 days. That's really negotiable, how many days you want to ask for and for how much. There is a fee associated for it if you do choose to buy that option period. And that completely depends on what you negotiate on that contract. Again, it's something that we can go in full detail that it's outside of the perspective of this video. So it's customary, more than likely you're going to see more or less 10 days for $100 that you choose. Those are $100 that are not refundable, but that you can work into the contract where they can be either applied or not applied towards the closing costs or towards your purchase price, I should say. That's kind of how it's worded. It's a little tricky the way it's worded, but so that's generally what you want to get it ready for. As soon as you go into contract, is going to be the inspection fee. That's not part of the contract. That's something that an agreement they have with an inspector, and the fee to buy that option period. Again, most of the time I've been able to negotiate 10 days for $100, which works out to about $10 a day. That's just me, but it's something that you want to get ready for, maybe $100, whatever the case may be. Whatever again, you might want to consult with your real estate professional to actually get down the details on this. So that's another thing that you want to get ready for. This is before the actual closing. The next fee that's going to come up, again, it's going to be an appraisal. And the appraisal, again, all these things you want to also, I should say, a disclaimer, you want to talk to your lender about these things. This is more of a video to explain the overall blanket fees that you want to consider when you go under contract. So the other thing is going to be the appraisal. The appraisal is also going to get paid before the closing, and it completely depends on the appraiser that gets hired, depending on the type of loan that you have, and generally looking $400, $500, $550. Again, don't stick to these figures. Don't quote me on these figures. This is all negotiable, and this all depends on who the real estate professional that you hire to do these certain tasks. But generally, you want to get ready for that. The appraisal is something that that may be used or may be applied towards that count towards the closing cost. Again, don't quote me on this. This is something you want to speak to your lender about to see how that is handled. But it's something that it's a question that you want to ask your real estate professional, your lender, to see if these appraisal fees are going to get applied to your closing costs. So that's we're already talking about close to. So let's say, for example, we see an appraisal of $500, $550. Let's keep it easy. $500. An inspection of $250, and then an option fee of $100. You're already looking at $850 that would be paid out of pocket, theoretically out of pocket, before the actual closing. Again, I want to reiterate, you want to talk to your to your real estate professional to see which one of these fees can get applied towards your closing costs or are going to be a part of your closing costs. So I hope that helps. Again, the rest of the amount that you're going to need, whether the difference, the remaining balance is going to be needed at the time of closing. That's going to be whatever the case may be, whatever the lender has asked you for, whether it's going to be the down payment, points. It's going to be down payment, points. Kind of lost my train of thought there. Down payment, points, and your reserves to be able to get to the closing table. So I hope that helps. I know I went in circles a couple of times just because I kind of got sidetracked with Mr. Robert. Thank you for again, big shout out to Mr. Robert for clearing that up for us. And I know it's been cleared up before. I've been corrected before, and it's just something that, I don't know, it's automatic for me to word it the way I did. So again, speak to your lending professional. Again, this is just a guideline. This is something that you still want to confirm with your lender, with your real estate professional on all these items. So I hope that helps. Thanks for tuning in. Tune back again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Today I was running a little late because I got a last minute call to go open up a door for that inspection. So hopefully I won't be late tomorrow. Again, tune in tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. To answer another question. So this pretty much covers all of the questions that come up before we actually go into contract or before we actually start looking for houses. This is something that usually, these are the questions that come up on my meet and greet when I first go and show a house. Whether the client is already pre-qualified or not. These are the questions that generally come up. Starting tomorrow, we're going to get into the fun part of it, the house hunting, the questions that come up during the house hunting where we're looking at houses. So tune in tomorrow for another question on the best home buying advice. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.